Doktor tak buka mic.
Nasib baik saya belum start lagi. Okay, thank you for the reminder. Okay, boleh dengarkan sekarang?
Okay, boleh.
Boleh doktor.
Okay. So, what should I do here? Okay, boleh lah, tak kisah. Okay, this week kita akan move to another new chapters. Okay, before this, for the plant, I think saya akan ada echo. Hold on sekejap. Sebab I need to put another what we call the handphone untuk yang admit, siapa yang entry. Sebab saya dah memang buka auto entry. However, sebab yang untuk auto entry dekat Google Meet that using the UMK account is only allowed for auto admit untuk sesiapa yang sign in mengguna UMK punya email. If you are using the Gmail from your personal Gmail, then I need to click the allow admit. So that's why I need two devices. So right now at this moment, so I just want to do something to prevent from having the echo. Okay, so there are three types of the forest that we are having in the currently. First is a natural forest yang semula jadi. The second one is a plantation. Ini adalah kita kata hutan ladang. Okay, the third one is the urban. Okay, natural forest, I think yang ni saya tak perlu explain banyak sebab yang ni yang semula jadi yang anda nampak. Okay, plantation. Plantation punya kita kata hutan ladang ni, dia biasanya kita kata spesifikasi dia berbeza dengan yang natural, di mana hutan ladang dia memang khas untuk commercial value. Okay, so what we can say from there is that spesies yang ditanam tu memang khas khusus untuk nanti for the harvest purpose. So that is why usually hutan ladang it won't have a very good biodiversity. Dia in most of time is a monocrop. Maksud dia hanya menggunakan satu spesies saja. Sebagai contoh, ada soalan ke? Ganggu. Okey. Sebagai contoh, ladang getah. Okey. Di mana kalau kita tengok ladang getah, dia semua hanya pokok getah je. Dia jarang akan ada spesies lain di dalam ladang pokok getah. Kecuali dia memang ada niat nak buat tanam sedikit untuk tujuan lain dan sebagainya. Otherwise, in most of the commercial plantation forest, it will only plants in the monocrop. They were just only using one species sahaja. Okay, and third one is the urban. Okay, so urban forest is what we call the man-made forest that plant in the city for very specific purpose, to provide the shade, to cool down the city. So yang tujuan yang digunakan untuk yang kita kata urban forest ni, dia bukan untuk commercial. Dia tidak ada nilai nanti kata kita nak untuk penerbangan dan sebagainya. Dia hanya untuk tujuan untuk mencantikkan bandar dan juga dia nak what we call the cool down from the what we call the urban heat. So that is urban city. So actually on this week we will focus on plantation forest only. natural forest we have already covered in the past few weeks, okay, since from the Dr. City punya lecture. Urban forest we will not cover at all. So, but urban forest is for the ornament purpose. Dia is not covered in kita punya what we call the science perhutanan. So for plantation forest, why suddenly we talk about plantation forest? Actually, there's a link for each of the topic, okay? So last week we know about the ecosystem of the forest, the functions, okay? So forest nak tak nak untuk for kita kata for this program lah, senang sikit teknologi sumber hutan. We will use the forest resource for the doesn't matter lah what we call is for the civilizations lah. Sebab yang paling mainly sekali what we call like the wood is one of the very important materials for the what we call the human civilization. The wood is not only for construction purpose but also for a lot others purpose, like we need the wood for the fuel, we need the wood untuk buat sebagai bahan untuk perabot, paupa dan kertas. Even in nowadays, the wood or what we call the lignocellulosic material, dia banyak digunakan sebagai bahan mentah untuk kebanyakan tujuan. Sebagai, kalau kita kata yang high-tech sedikit lah, nanocellulose, dissolved pulp, rayon, semua ni adalah bahan yang terbit daripada kayu. Jadi, nak tak nak, we still need to use the wood. So, let's say from the very beginning, from ancient time lah, kita bagi contoh yang lebih critical sikit. Last time when the human need to use the wood, it's at the very sustainable way. We don't use the wood for commercial purpose for the ancient time. Okay, ancient time, that is the before century and so on lah. Okay, so they just chop down a tree that they need to for their purpose. Doesn't matter for to build their house as a fuel, and that time dia tak ada guna kayu untuk benda yang high tech sebab tak ada high tech. They are just the wood is the really used at the what we call the for their needs only, the really basic need. So then the forest is able to regrow, regenerate. Okay, so there's no need, you no need to do any plantations or what. By its own itself, it can actually regrow whatever the tree that they chopped down. Slowly lately, until the industrial revolutions, wood become a major raw material. Then people start to cut down the tree from the forest. Then the forest land becomes more and smaller. Then slowly they find out this is a problem because it's already disturbed the ecosystem, the biodiversity, and later the climate of the earth, everything. So it's become a concern. Then in 1960 something, then they start to propose what is the what we call the restoration action that we can take. Then they will begin to start up have the what we call the forest sustainable management, and then inside there there's a forest plantations. It's one of the actions when you come to what we call to conserve the forest. Okay, it's not preserve, but actually it's just conserve. Okay, so whatever the land that is already cleared out due to the forest land have been cleared out for this purpose, then they will propose that time you have to plant back. But when you come to plant back, then the beginnings, there's no one want to plant back the forest for just for the sake of the environmental reason. So after the bargain, negotiate, ding dong, then this idea come up. Why don't for the certain industry, because for the certain industry they are using the wood industry, they are using very certain commercial wood only. Besides then kita tadi yang saya bagi contoh punya pokok getah, sebab pokok getah the initial is to collect the latex before you want to get the kayu getah tu. So itu yang lain. But for other species, actually those species they don't have the others what we call the commercial product. For example, pokok sentang, acacia menjem, eucalyptus, dia tak ada bahan lain untuk collect selain daripada memang batang pokok itself. So they have to begin like dia kena introduce actually dia cooperate lah dengan the industry. So whenever the land that you use for your product purpose, why don't you plant back the species that you need, okay, at the specific area. So for the what we call the carbon value, sebab kayu itself is the carbon stock. Maksud dia dalam kayu dia sendiri sebenarnya dia banyak elemen carbon. Jadi we restore from that the carbon value of the forest. Okay, so for that is the beginning of the plantation forest. So okay, yang ni I give an example over here. Stapler. Tahu kan? I rasa semua orang ada kan? Stapler pencil. Kalau tak ada pun pensel lain pun boleh lah, okay. This is just one of example. Okay, stapler itself saja, 1 year it needs 6,000 tons of the wood, okay, to produce the 1 million unit pencil for the worldwide punya demand, okay. So what they do is they plant their sendiri punya commercial forest, what we call the plantation forest, for out of the 20 hectare, okay, and then semua kayu ni dia yang dia tanam tu dia sendiri akan harvest untuk kegunaan dia sendiri. Of course, dia sebab there's no wood species can be harvested by 1 year, so it need a bigger land so that they can make the what we call batch. Okay, this year after they clear out sini, then it's good enough for the 1 year punya kerja. And the difference between the what we call when you harvest the plantation forest and the natural forest dia biasanya like this. When you come to the sustainable forest management, we cannot clear out the land, okay, for the natural forest. You need to make sure you have to do the mensuration for first one, tinjauan, okay. Untuk kita pastikan pokok mana yang cukup matang untuk kita kata dituaikan, okay, penuaian hutan, okay. Tetapi kalau kita kata ini adalah hutan ladang dia biasanya beza. Sebab first, climate you control, growth you control, plantation time you control. Jadi, in most of time, semua kayu tu dia akan matang pada satu masa yang sama. Jadi, they can just clear out the whole land. And biasanya hutan ladang yang ada, especially dekat Asia, dalam tu dia memang tak ada biodiversity lain. Dia hanya ada pokok aja. Dia pun memang dah halang daripada kita kata pelbagai biodi yang lain, tak kisahlah daripada animal ke atau lain, untuk memang menjadi satu ekosistem dekat dalam hutan ladang. Jadi dia the practice dekat hutan ladang biasanya memang clear out, okay. So besides that, this is other contoh, okay. Yeah, some of the tree species and most of time actually is a bakau lah, digunakan untuk membuat arang kayu, okay. So this is also one of example. And another one, tak ada example dekat dalam sini, okay. Kertas yang kita guna, pulp and paper, okay. Even in Malaysia, okay, we have hutan ladang yang memang khas khusus untuk pembuatan paupa pada masa dulu. Sekarang tak ada. siapa daripada Sabah mungkin pernah dengar lah SFI, Siputan Forest Industry. They are the only commercial wood pulp manufacturer in Malaysia since last time lah. But at this moment dia dah liquefied dan bought over by another tycoon. And then tetapi sebab Tan Sri Sheikh Mohtar memang tak plan untuk nak buat apa-apa dekat SFI after dia bought over. So SFI sekarang kira domain lah. But however, dia memang ada hutan ladang dekat Sabah, eucalyptus, yang memang khas khusus untuk dia memang harvest untuk pembuatan pulp pada masa dulu. So, in fact for your informations, pulp and paper is the major industry in they are using the what we call the, ataupun saya guna ayat yang lebih senang faham lah, 60% daripada pokok yang diterbang daripada tak kisah hutan ladang ataupun hutan semula jadi adalah untuk tujuan paupa dan kertas. Don't be surprised like, wow, I thought like kayu yang kita tebang untuk kita mungkin nak buat perabot dan sebagainya, majority, but actually not. Majority of the pokok yang diterbang daripada hutan sama ada ladang ataupun semula jadi adalah untuk tujuan untuk membuat kepada paupa kertas. Paupa kertas ni tak semestinya, tak semestinya hanya untuk buat kepada kertas. Dia boleh dijadikan sumber mentak untuk bahan terbitan seperti rayon dan sebagainya. Tetapi memang untuk tujuan dia untuk menjadi sebagai paupa. Jadi industri paupa ni dia memang di kebanyakan negara lah, dia memang dia ada sendiri punya hutan ladang. Kecuali sesetengah negara, I think I can say lah, the name shouldn't be any problem because it's not a very secret, but I just don't want to make it like saya sengaja nak rendahkan negara lain. One of example adalah negara jiran kami, Indonesia. That is why kertas A4 yang anda beli kalau dia adalah daripada Indonesia, quality dia but price dia cheaper. Sebab when you come to the forest harvest, sorry, not the forest harvesting, but what we call the raw material punya operation cost. If you are using the plantation forest, costing dia lebih tinggi berbanding kalau you are just harvest from the natural forest. And then in fact, if they are not practice any what we call the sustainable forest management, lagi cepatlah sebab dia just clear out the land. Easier, tak kisah dia besar kecil semua tebang. And then to use and to produce the wood. So when come to that, what we call the perspective, that is why there are some industries still prefer not to have a forest plantation. Sebab when you come to the plantation, then you need people to jaga, you need the people to mensurations, and then later there's a lot of the operation cost involved over there. So we're back to the plantation forest. I don't want to deviate too far. When you come to the forest plantation, the concept of the plantation forest, is a man-made forest. Maksud dia bukan semula jadi. Kita manusia yang menjadikan tempat tu menjadi hutan. Tetapi you cannot compare this hutan kepada hutan yang semula jadi. This is for sure. And then is manipulation of the forest land. However, this manipulation is like this lah. Dia when we come to the reality, semua ni adalah business. So the plantation forest is what we call the, bukan excuse, tetapi the policy ataupun action yang mereka ambil supaya mereka senang untuk mendapatkan license to harvest the natural forest for the very first place, because the price of the natural forest, the timber from the natural forest is way much higher than your wood timber that you obtain for the plantation forest. Sebab size dia berbeza, okay. Nilai kayu, spesies kayu pun berbeza. So that's one thing. So but then, okay, after they clear out, not really clear out lah. So but right now it's no longer allowed to fully clear out the land. So that is what in the end you will have a what we call the fragmentations of the forest. Okay. So after whatever the place that you have cleared out from the natural forest, you have to plant back. Okay, so it's actually manipulating on the forest land. The what we call the concept is actually to restore the carbon that harvests from the forest. Okay, and then it plant with the commercial tree, definitely, because otherwise, again, back to yang tadi kata, if let's say you want them to plant back the same species they harvest from the forest, nobody will do it. So you plant with the commercial tree, so that after the few years when the what we call the crop rotation dah sampai tu, then you can harvest the tree again for other commercial purpose, then you plant back. So the concept is so-called to keep the ecosystem balance. However, actually disturbance sudah berlaku. Again, disturbance sudah berlaku. Dia actually tak dapat preserve the ecosystem. The only thing we can do is just to conserve the carbon value in the forest only. So, but there's satu what we call the standard lah. When you can claim that it's a plantation forest, the land must be over than the 100 acre. Okay. Kalau kecil daripada tu, they don't consider this is a plantation forest, and they will consider this is just plantation sahaja. Okay. So if let's say we come to the Malaysia's, so what is the objective or tujuan mengapa kita nak adakan plantation forest? Okay. First, sorry. If you are aware, or if you don't, I will let you know now. Malaysia actually is one of the greatest forest or timber product export in worldwide. Okay, so when we come to the demands of the worldwide is semakin meningkat due to the populations, then our wood supplies has become a problem. Okay, you are not able to always rely on the timber they harvest from the natural forest, because it takes a long time to let the natural forest to restore back after you harvest. 50 years, 100 years. The industry not able to wait. So to what we call to encounter this problem, to tackle this problem, then we need the plantation forest, okay, so that we can make sure, okay, this is on our part, we can make sure the wood supply or the timber supply is sustainable for the industry. And of course, when you come to the plantation forest, you takkan tanam dia dekat bandar. Sebagai contoh, you takkan tiba-tiba get a place in the Kuala Lumpur, tepi the Twin Towers, 100 ekar untuk nak buat plantation forest. Economical wise, dia takkan make sense. The land over there is too expensive. Before we come to see the strata of the land, kata ini adalah tanah grant, commercial ke ataupun agriculture lah. But if kalau kata we put this aside pun, you takkan make this, okay? So plantation forest biasanya dekat mana? Rural area, outskirt area, and coincidentally, and memang ada correlation dia juga, biasanya penduduk dekat what we call the outskirt area, rural area, income mereka lebih rendah, dan mereka tak banyak ada kita kata peluang pekerjaan. Jadi when you come to the plantation forest over there, then actually with more or less dia create a new work opportunity for them. Okay, And then to promote the timber plantation, this is one of it. Sebab Malaysia, last time memang tak banyak ada orang nak buat timber plantation. Plantation forest lah. Even the commercial industry, tak ramai. Okay. In most of time, actually, is the state government yang kita kata state government yang pushing. So to have the timber plantation. In fact, there's even some. Kalau siapa parents adalah work in the what we call the timber industry or what probably they will know. They have even some of the states when you come to after you logging the forest, the seedling untuk replantation is actually provided by the state government secara percuma. What you need to make sure is you plant back only. Okay, so up to that level, tak ada orang nak buat the plantation. And then the next is for the industrial plantation. Okay, industrial plantation is memang very clear for the what we call the industrial purpose. Okay, yang ni industrial dengan yang tadi timber plantation tu dia berbeza sikit. When you come to the timber plantation, dia lebih kepada macam kita tanam pokok yang dia kayu tu kita hanya nanti untuk memang export as a log. Okay. Dia punya final product adalah log. Sekiranya untuk yang industrial plantation, dia memang yang ni khas khusus lepas dia plantation tu dia memang diguna oleh industri tersebut dah. Okay. Yang timber plantation adalah yang ditanam oleh kita kata pihak penuaian hutan. Yang kita kata the logging industry. Industrial plantation is tanam by the industry of that particular industry. Furniture ke, pulp ke dan sebagainya contoh. Okay. So, in the plantation estate right now, kalau kita kata secara global, memang the forest, the industrial plantation for this kind of the wood species, the coverage is up to 48% of the total the plantation estate. The 52% is others lah. Mungkin dia tanam the yang pineapple ke all this ke, but it's not for the what we call the wood purpose. Okay. Then when you come to the forest plantations, okay, dia biasanya dia berbeza sikit dengan yang timber plantation, to be frank. Okay, timber plantation dia tanam dia belah dah. The logging industry dia takkan care. Okay, but if let's say in the industrial plantation, then it will have their own managements, and then all the tree is at a even age, and then what we call the spacing of the tree memang at the very optimum. They will wise use the land for the maximum punya plantation. However, kalau kita tanam terlalu rapat, kayu tu tak dapat besar. Kalau kita tanam dia terlalu kita kata scatter, longgar, okay, then you are actually what we call the waste of the land. Dia menjadi membazirkan the ruang. Jadi they will really maximize. Okay, the maximize of course you will come to the with the all the scientific knowledge that actually you will learn later when you come to the other subject. What is the spacing that required for this species and that species? Each species difference. Some for example, kalau kita kata sebagai contoh senang sikit, durian. Kan sekarang semua orang suka tanam durian sebab durian is a very what we call is a cash fruit. Okay. However, kalau you tak pandai tanam durian, you don't even know what is the spacing between one tree with another tree. Okay. Kalau awal-awal you tanam terlalu rapat, nanti pokok dah jadi besar, canopy dia dah overlay. Okay. Then semua sunlight tu dah shaded. Then your fruit won't get the sunlight. And then the fruit, the pollination pun takkan terjadi lah. So that's why that is a lot of science knowledge in the what we call the plantations. Okay. The next one is genetically improved, so that actually you can harvest it faster. The crop rotation become shorter, okay? Then, of course, when you come to the plantation, this forest plantation, compared to the open land after you clear up, then this actually can to conserve the soil, the water, and then to block the wind, the water catchments, and also actually is still able to create an ecosystem for some small mammal dan sebagai contoh atupai dan sebagainya. Okay, so that's the objective of the plantation forest. Okay, yang ni adalah statistik lah 20 years ago lah, honestly, a little bit outdated sebab sometimes they don't update annually, okay? But this is the latest that we can get. We purposely highlight the Asia sebab we are in the Asia, right? The Asia punya forest plantations area actually consists of 62% of the forest plantation of the worldwide. 116 million hectare, okay? Hectare out of 187 million hectare in the total. Okay. So Asia actually is a very, kita kata sangat giat lah in the forest plantation. Bukan kata mereka sangat, kita kata sangat jiwa nak restore the forest, no. But actually Asia is one of the biggest timber industry. One of the region with the major of the timber industry. So that is why they need the plantation forest. So if in the Malaysia, not only the Malaysia lah, because when you come to this, actually there's a lot of the party that involved. For the government sector Malaysia, okay, biasanya memang dia akan melibatkan RISDA. RISDA is the one for the agricultural. FRIM, pernah dengar kan? FRIM, okay, but that is the research body under actually partially government support for the forest and timbers. And then Jabatan Perhutanan, yang ni memang tak dapat lali lah sebab this is their forte, their territory. Private agent, you have a JICA. Besides the JICA, you still have other like the JILCAs, all these what we call the private sector involvement, and the individual forest owner, Statler, SIMDABI, all these. Dia private agency juga, but at the same time they are also the individual forest owner. Okay, so this party mereka akan bekerja sama untuk, sebab when you want to plant that pun, they have a lot of things that you need to consult and you need to get the approval. They need to make sure, okay, species ni sesuai dekat kawasan ni, species ni sesuai untuk this area, and this species and at the same time they will get some support from the government and so on. So species for the timber plantation, but not only the timber plantation, but also for the industrial plantations. Okay, when you come to this, there's a few things you need to consider. Okay, the objective of the growing tree. Why you need to grow these trees? Seperti tadi kata. Sebab, okay, when you come to like, kalau katakan pulp and paper industry, mengapa kita tak tanam pokok cengah? Kita tak tanam pokok jati untuk kita nak buat pulpa dan kertas? Sebab, first, cengah dan jati susah nak tanam. Lambat sangat. Okay. Second thing, for the pulp and paper, we no need this kind of the very high strength solid wood. We just need have a long fiber punya wood source. Okay, so it's not suitable. That's why they will choose a species as sesuai. Acacia mangium, eucalyptus, this kind of the species for the pulp and paper. If let's say for the furniture, species yang paling kita kata popular di Malaysia, rubber wood. That is why even in the back to few years ago, that time punya MITI, Ministry of the Industrial Trading and the Ministry of International Trading and the Industry, and also the MPI, Ministry of the Primary PIMC, in Primary Industry and the Commodities, not allowed us to export the rubber tree anymore. Sebab industri Malaysia sendiri perlukan the rubber tree for their supply for their productions. Okay, so we need to come to the, when you come to the growing tree, you need to know this tree untuk tujuan apa nanti. Site condition. Some of the species dia ada condition tertentu untuk menanamnya. Sebagai contoh, kecerunan. Kalau katakan that is not the, kita kata tanah yang rata lah. So if maybe dekat memang dekat sisi bukit ke atau apa, you need to look at a lot of the condition. Okay. Sama ada banyak batu bata ke tak, what is the soil conditions, and then the slope and so on. Availability of the planting stock. Takkan kalau, okay, this is what we call the common sense lah. Okay, you need to make sure you have that seedling kalau you need to do the timber plantation on that. Otherwise, tiba-tiba katakan, oh saya nak tanamkan gaharu dekat belakang agropark. Tetapi dekat Kelantan pun tak ada orang jual anak pokok karas. Okay, for your information, pokok gaharu actually nama dia adalah pokok karas. Okay, before dia menjadi gaharu. Okay, so anak pokok, kalau one day you want to tanam pokok gaharu, you don't go to nursery say you nak tanam pokok gaharu, then they know you are actually what we call the amateur. Okay, if you say you nak tanam pokok karas, okay, they know you're somebody. Okay, then the biology factors that determine the growth performance of the tree, because when you come to the growth of the tree, there's a lot of things. Okay, some of it katakan is yang genus species, you need to have the bunga, you need to have the pollinator agent to transfer the bunga dan sebagai contoh, this kind of the biological factors. And some of it, bukan hanya yang kita kata mutualism, some of it is a parasitism. You tak nak ada animals yang boleh merosakkan your anak pokok over there. So this is the selection criteria. You need to make sure that species is a high survival rate. Okay. Macam tadi kata, yang pokok karas tu untuk nak tanam gaharu tu, the survival rate, the mortality rate is 50% only. You tanam 2 pokok, dia akan mati 1. You tanam 10, dia akan mati 5. Sekiranya kalau katakan that species bukan ada high commercial value, though you don't even think to use this kind of the species because it's very hard to grow. You need more manpower and also operation cost to jaga so that it can increase the what we call the survival rate. Otherwise, you rugi duit. Okay, good initial growth. This is for sure. Sebab kalau anak pokok pada beginning dia bukan good initial growth, then dia susah nak survive. Okay, the tolerance of the sun shade and the site competition surrounding. Okay, and then the natural self pruning and the good natural bore. Dia sendiri akar dia boleh, yang it's a very good one. You no need to macam some species you need to macam do a lot of the treatment on the soil and so on so that dia boleh lebih senang. And then generally you need to have a good resistance to the insect and the fungal attack so that dia tak mati separuh jalan lah. Okay. And then the timber that you grow need to have for the good commercial value. And back to the tadi fifth. Maybe, not maybe lah, but later on you akan selalu dengar acacia mangers, but this is one of the commercial species yang ada forest plantation dekat Malaysia. However, why acacia manger suddenly is already out of topic. However, kita masih ada lah dekat Malaysia, tetapi there's no more new plantation on the acacia manger. Acacia manger was introduced by the 1960, that time when the SFM come out, the Sustainable Forest Management come up. So, there's a, okay lah, yang tu cerita lain, yang tu saya tak nak cerita dulu. I back kepada yang acacia manger dulu. So, that time, sebab it's a very fast growth species. 8 years, 9 years, it's already can harvest. It's very tall, straight tree, memang sangat sesuai untuk wood industry. But then, until 1980, then the worldwide start gila lah, tanam. Then until 1990, dah boleh harvest kan 10 tahun. Then they find out the harvest rate is very low. 30% of the tree lepas harvest tak boleh pakai. Masa tengok dekat luar tak ada masalah, the pokok very nice. After chop down, semua dalam tu dah rebut, hard rotten. The tengah tu hard rotten. Okay. kalau sekarang you tak boleh bayar hard rotten, never mind. After the next semester, you will come my class again, then you know what is hard rotten. Okay. So, secara umum, kayu acacia menjum ni, dia senang dijangkit oleh satu jenis fungus dan menyebabkan tengah kayu tu dia rebut. Okay. Jadi, they're not able to solve it. They use another 5 years, 10 years, try to study to solve it. Then after 2000, then nobody tanam acacia menjum anymore. So that is why when you come to choose this species, you need to know well about this species, how good is their resistance to the certain insect and fungus. Some memang tak boleh, but what we hopefully is they have a protection mechanism. Actually, when the insect atau apa dia attack the wood, wood will release something what we call is the phytoalexin as a protection mechanism to protect it later on to invade by the insect and the fungus. So if that species is a very vulnerable species, then you will have a problem. Sebab that species dia mungkin before the harvest sudah rosak habis, ataupun when you come to harvest, you already find out you cannot use for any commercial purpose. Okay, so these are the what we call the commercial wood species yang biasanya ditanam. Okay, for many purpose. Okay. So when you come to the soil for the plantations, yani we just go through a while only lah. We go under. So but a few things you need to make sure. First, kita daripada porosity dia. Porosity actually will determine how fast the water can discharge dan dia tak trap dan merosakkan akar. Okay. But at the same time, you need to have a certain what we call the water holding capacity. Okay, WHC on the soil, so that dia tak kering sangat. Okay. And then the second one, the nutrients. Okay, the nutrients is very important sebab that is a food source. Kita senang kata lah, food source for your tree. So the very basic one before you come to the ore, NPK paling important. If you are in the kita kata plantation ke, ataupun kalau you memang minat untuk nak buat tanam ke apa ke, selalu you, kalau dengar orang kata baja je, dia memang 3 things only, NPK. Okay, sodium, potassium, and also the kalium. Okay, 3 things. Okay, and then only we come to the others, minus punya yang Mg, Mn, all this content. And then for the physical of the soil, how thick is the soil? So but after the certain level, maybe it's a batu-batu. Okay, the structure of the soil, actually the layer lah. Okay, and then the consistency. Sebab some of it dia tak consistent. Dia sini nampak okay je, and then after maybe 50 ekar dia dah menjadi struktur yang lain dan sebagainya. Particle size distribution. Siapa pernah tanam pokok dalam polybag pun tahu, you cannot use a single size. You need to campur dengan pasir. So it need to have a variety of the particle distribution. Drainage status. If it too slow, problem. If it too fast, also problem. Yang tadi kata, if it too slow, then it trap over there, then probably the root of the tree before they grow stronger, that time dia sudah rebut dan sebagainya. If it, let's say, it drain too fast, then actually it don't have enough water for the tree. So this is one of the example, the rubber plantation. So you look at it, the depth, it must kena ada 1 meter. Okay, itu akar dia memang dia mungkin penetrate for the 1 meter and lower. If let's say before the 1 meter, dia sudah menjadi struktur lain, is no longer is a soil, maybe it's a batu-bata dan sebagainya, dia tidak sesuai. Homogeneous soil, and then the texture, dia lebih kurang, okay, 35% of the clay, 30% of the sand, the rest is the others. Okay, the slope must be below 35 degree. If the slope higher than 35 degree, the pokok tu akan tak sesuai. Probably dia akan tumbang halfway. Okay, well drained, dia tak perlu banyak air. And then essence of the pig, and then no lies to the erosion. Dia takkan what we call erode on the soil over there. The chemical property, there must be have a high content in the NPK, okay? And then pH of the soil is around 4.5. Environmental characteristic seperti yang tunjuk dekat sana. So when you come to this is one of example. You nak tanam rubber tree pun, you jangan tanam suka hati. It must be at this kind of the condition. That's why most of time your rubber tree is planted on the flat punya area supaya dia senang untuk meet all these criteria. So when you when you come to the saya terlupa yang ni. Okay, when you come to the what we call the establishment technique, biasanya okay, you need to prepare the site, you go to do the site survey, and then you make the alignment, siap dah, you're planting the stock first dalam polybag. You tak terus tanam dalam kita kata the kawasan tersebut. What we call is a propagation on a polybag dulu. Once dia dah jadi seedling, dah menjadi anak pokok, then only you will transfer to the site. But in between that, of course, you will apply the fertilizer and so on, and then you planting over there. And then the line planting tu is what we call to the spacing. So that is why mengapa kalau kita tengok dalam plantation forest, yang paling senang kita tengok adalah rubber tree lah. Semua memang disusun dengan cantik sekali in the line. So that when you come to the management, when you come to mensurations, when you come to the nak jaga dan sebagainya, dia senang. And then you, after that, you might have to apply some of the herbicide, not only herbicide lah, pesticide and so on, so that your pokok tidak diancam oleh any other invasive species. Then once dia sudah mature, then you can harvest. And then again, after you clear out the land, then they start again. Okay, maybe then you have to do the site preparation again and all those so on. Okay, so this is the cycle of the plantation forest. When you come to the operation yang tadi in the yang tengah tu, okay, you need to do the fertilization. The fertilization lah, and then you need to do the pest control. Fertilization actually to menyuburkan tanah. Pest and disease control untuk nak kita kata nak menyingkir lah kita yang semua yang perosak ataupun the invasive species from your planting forest. And then the stocking and spacing is to ensure semua kayu tu ataupun anak pokok semasa tanam tu dia di ruang yang mencukupi. Okay, when you come to the harvest, okay, first thing you still need to do mensuration. All those forest planting saya tadi kata dia tak ada variety, dia biasanya dia akan muncul pada sinda. But the first time you masih kena measure dulu sama ada dia dah cukup matang belum semua pokok. And then you can, after you do the mensuration, you boleh agak bila dah boleh terbang. Okay, then after after the harvest, then you will do the economic analysis, and then the history untuk digunakan apa, untuk tujuan apa. But if let's say this already very specific one, kalau dia tanam by status sendiri akan gunalah. Tanam by the apalah yang double A, then double A sendiri akan guna untuk produce the paper. Tanam by the Clark Antimony dia akan diguna untuk membuat tissue paper. So, but some dia mungkin dekat overseas dia ada yang tanam memang lepas tanam dia tak ada spesifik punya industri untuk guna. Then they have to sell off the tree. For example yang tadi kata yang acacia, manjan dan sebagainya. Yang dekat Malaysia ada lagi yang macam pokok sentang dan sebagainya. Dia lepas tanam tetapi dia tak ada lagi industri yang pair dengan dia akan guna dia punya species. So dia kena harvest and then dia kena ada yang all this what we call the economic analysis and also the marketing to sell off their wood timber. Okay, yang ni just tunjuk gambar je lah, tak ada apa. Actually, habis dah untuk kelas hari ni. So, Soalan ada? Q&A. Ke tak faham sangat? Ke saya laju sangat?
Tak ada, doktor.
Tak ada soalan.
Doktor,
Hmm.
apa? Kalau macam natural, plantation dengan urban tu kan, dia punya trees tu quality dia sama ke atau ada beza?
Okay, first, natural forest kita tak ada plantation lah. Ya biasanya kalau kita masih nak keep dia classified as a natural forest, especially primary, kita memang takkan tanam. And then when you come to this, the plantation, it's like this. If you really plant a tree lah, saya bagi scenario lah. If you really plant a tree in the natural forest, due to the ecosystem of that forest, kualiti dia memang akan berbeza kalau kita berbanding dengan yang kita kata dekat yang plantation forest. Even the wood sendiri punya structure density akan berbeza sedikit. What we call is a maturity, the process of the maturity and also the interaction in between the area. Sebab when you come to the plantation forest, dia tak ada competition. When dia tak ada competition, dia berbeza. Okay. And second thing, the climate, temperature of the area. When come to the lower temperature, actually secara fisiologi, kayu akan lebih tumpat berbanding kalau dia adalah plantation di kawasan yang temperature tinggi sikit. Dia bukan konsep kalau panas mengembang, sejuk mengecut. It's just what we call the growth rate, okay, yang menyebabkan kayu tu berbeza sedikit. Okay, so perbezaan tu memang akan ada, tetapi kalau kita akan berbalik ke tengok untuk tujuan apa. So that's also one of reason why the prestige and also the what we call the high end punya wood furniture, in most of time the wood masih adalah daripada kita kata kayu yang harvest from the natural forest. It's not from the plantation forest. Plantation forest punya kayu biasanya digunakan untuk produk kayu yang lebih, kita kata yang lebih affordable lah. Adakah dah menjawab soalan tersebut?
Ya, doktor, thank you.
Okay. Lagi soalan? Tak ada? Kalau tak ada, habis dah kelas untuk hari ni. Ada kan? Ada dan bye-bye dah.
Tak ada, doktor.
Okay, so thank you everybody. So jumpa lagi minggu depan. So nanti record ni saya akan letak dalam Google Meet lah, Google Meet pula, dalam e-learning lah, in case kalau siapa nak revision balik dan sebagainya. So okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, doktor.
Thank you, doktor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, doktor. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, doktor.